Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And among Skyrim's many factions, the Dark Brotherhood are perhaps the spookiest. A blatantly evil organization of secret assassins who kill for hire regardless of morality. It's this fundamental lack of really any ethics at all that sets them apart from any other organization in the game. Even the Thieves Guild doesn't condone murder. Regardless, this is also what makes the Brotherhood such a fascinating faction to look into. So today we'll be diving into another 5 facts you may not have known about Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood. Starting off, this one requires some context. The Morag Tong are, or were, depending on the way you look at things, an assassins guild based out of Morrowind, who worship, or worshipped, the Daedric god Mephala, prince of murders and conspiracy. They formed thousands of years ago, long before the Dark Brotherhood, and they were so influential in Morrowind that their assassinations were largely made legal and condoned by local governments. What we now know as the Dark Brotherhood formed as a splinter faction, as members that left the Morag Tong in the Second Era. These folks went off and founded the Brotherhood as the death cult we all now know and love. As time went on after the split, the Dark Brotherhood developed into the premier assassins guild across every Tamrielic province except Morrowind, where the Morag Tong continued to reign supreme. Despite separate areas of influence, the Brotherhood and Tong were not on good terms, and they constantly kidnapped and even murdered each other's members. Until the eruption of the Red Mountain, which occurred in the 4th Era. This horrifying volcanic event devastated all of Morrowind, and ultimately resulted in the Morag Tong officially being disbanded. Well, in Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC, which takes you to the island of Solstheim, you learn that they must have reformed, at least in some capacity. As during the side quest, Served Cold, the player is sent by the captain of Raven Rock's guard to Ashfallow Citadel to wipe out the Morag Tong assassins living there. Unfortunately, Bethesda doesn't bother to explain what's going on here really at all. Did the guild get back together and reform? Is this just a handful of pretenders? What's going on? Well, regardless, if the player is a member of the Dark Brotherhood after completing this quest, there's an ever so small chance that you may be the target of a random encounter while you're wandering the lands of Solstheim that heavily reflects upon that old rivalry between the Brotherhood and their Mephala-worshipping counterparts. As you may be approached by an NPC, simply named Morag Tong Assassin, who will immediately turn hostile and attack. Once you defeat this foe, which you should, you are the Dragonborn, on the assassin's body will be a letter, titled Writ of Execution, which is a bit too long for me to read, but essentially states that the player is, quote, a member of an unlawful guild, and that this Morag Tong assassin effectively has a license to murder you to death. Players of the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind will probably find the Writ of Execution rather familiar, as when the Morag Tong was legally allowed to kill people back in the day, they would have the ability to present these writs of execution to guards to avoid being arrested. Well, evidently now that practice is back in action, and so is the Morag Tong. Apparently. Maybe. We're not really sure, Bethesda didn't tell us. Next on our list, Olava the Feeble is an elderly woman who lives alone in Whiterun. Seemingly, this is as harmless as a human being could possibly get. However, after completing the Dark Brotherhood quest, Breaching Security, you'll have the opportunity to learn that Olava in fact has some considerable ties to the Dark Brotherhood, and even has the power to see into the future to some small extent. No matter, this is definitely not an ordinary lady. Olava will perform a single reading on the player as a reward for completing the quest, in which she subtly hints at the impending destruction of the sanctuary, as well as points you to a unique set of armor. But Olava will only see into your future a single time, and if you want to approach her again later in the game, she'll basically just tell you to buzz off and will not enter dialogue, stating that she's, quote, tired. That said, a look into Skyrim's files reveals that this was not always the case, and Bethesda may have intended for Olava to be able to give you multiple readings, charging you coin for each one, but decided to cut that feature out at the last minute. Take a listen to this cut line of dialogue.
Oh, very well. But my energies are low. I warn you, I won't be able to see much. Give me 5 gold and I'll do what I can.
It's not clear how Bethesda intended for this old woman to be able to see in your future multiple times at various points in the game, just considering all of the variables. But no matter, I definitely would have liked to hear their idea. Coming in at number 3, Shadowmere is the mythical and legendary mount that the player is awarded during the quest A Cure for Madness, where you're sent to the Dawnstar Sanctuary to kill Cicero after he suffered a bit of a breakdown. Well, Shadowmere is presented to you by Astrid in quite the cinematic fashion, as he is literally raised from a pond outside of the guild's Falkreath Sanctuary. Though a look into the game's files suggests that one of Skyrim's developers seems to have had a bit of fun with this event. You see, as Astrid is giving the player Shadowmere during A Cure for Madness, if you look in your journal, you'll see an objective simply titled, Behold a Shadowmere, which will complete once that little presentation ends, and you'll move on to the next objective. Well, every single quest objective in the game has a unique numerical ID that's attached to it in Skyrim's files. And this specific Behold Shadowmere objective is no exception. Though its ID is definitely a bit different, as its numerical ID is actually just 666, which of course is the series of numbers often associated with evil, or more specifically the devil and hell, in the Christian religion. It should be noted that this was certainly no accident, as other objective IDs in this quest follow a clear linear pattern that this one obviously breaks. Someone at Bethesda who worked on this quest is probably very proud of themselves. For a 4th spot, midway through the Dark Brotherhood questline, the player will be given the Summon Spectral Assassin spell, which, as its name implies, summons a ghostly NPC named Spectral Assassin to act as a follower to the player until otherwise dismissed. Now, as we've discussed before on this channel, that Spectral Assassin is actually the spirit of Lucien Lachance, a character who played a pretty significant role in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood, who the hero of Kvatch would personally befriend. Alas, should you enter the Dark Brotherhood's Falkreath Sanctuary with this old ghostly pal at your side, he may utter a line of dialogue that ominously foreshadows the fate the guild would soon horrendously suffer. Take a listen.
You know, a good purification might be just what this sanctuary needs.
Of course, as anyone who's finished the guild's questline would know, this is exactly what ultimately happens, as Penitus Oculatus agents storm the sanctuary and butcher most of its inhabitants. Even after death, Lucien Lachance didn't miss an opportunity to be proven right. And finally, last on our list, chances are you already know this one if you've progressed far enough inside of the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood. However, Skyrim outsold Oblivion by 8 times, so there's a very strong chance you might not have just yet. But I digress. You've definitely seen this symbol many times throughout Skyrim's own Dark Brotherhood arc. A dark handprint that looks like a piece of art someone would have made when they were in kindergarten. But do you know what this actually means? Well, this is the sigil of the Black Hand, the ruling council of the Dark Brotherhood. Each finger represents one of the group's 5 members. The thumb specifically symbolizes the listener, the 4 remaining fingers stand to represent the 4 speakers, and the fingernails symbolize each speaker's silencer, or personal assassin. You actually served as Lucien Lachance's silencer for a brief period of time during Oblivion. Now, by the time Skyrim takes place, the Dark Brotherhood as an organization has almost completely collapsed, with the only remaining sanctuary being the Falkreath one in Skyrim, and it's under the absolute control of Astrid. And the Black Hand isn't even mentioned. The group seems to no longer exist, making the usage of the Black Hand sigil rather odd. Though admittedly, I suppose hiring a graphics designer to develop a new logo would be rather expensive, and times are tough. So, do as you please, Astrid. Though on that note of frugality, we are going to wrap up. 5 more Dark Brotherhood facts you may have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Which of the ones featured on this list did you find to be the most interesting? And what secrets do you know the Brotherhood to be hiding that I haven't covered yet? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Thanks for stopping by, everyone, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.